I always knew I was eventually going to get into this episode when it comes to Naruto having his first ever episode centering around him, and I still haven't forgot about the critiques centered around this character, especially since I've talked about Walk Naruto back in November of 2020 when I did Cartoon Crisis 2, so I need to get this out of the way. After rewatching this episode, it really shows onto why that it's hard to take the character seriously, especially since that what I said in Horror Club would have been true if the show had more episodes, but the production was literally the reason onto why there's always back and forth when it comes to making the episodes happening, mainly the Sapphire and Ruby wedding, but we haven't gotten there yet until the next 2 months. Keep Beach City Weird is the episode where Naruto is doing paranormal activity by seeing the weird things in Beach City, which made Steven convinced that the adventures that he went on with the Crystal Gems are weird, but it's not in the way that we're thinking of when it comes to going against Naruto. It's mainly the fact that since that this is still Season 1 Steven, he's not thinking clearly, and while trying to make things right with Naruto just makes things a lot more complicated and a lot more confusing because he's way more shallow in comparison to any other person in Beach City. Even more shallow than Laws, but since I've talked about Horror Club, I'm just gonna say with that episode being the best that he has, I'm starting to convince that if they took his character seriously, like I said, then as far as I'm concerned, I guess this show will have marked the first time where they actually have a character redeem himself after being the character that we really hate and can't stand. If you want to know onto why I didn't talk about PD's character when it comes to his centered episodes from way earlier in the season, it's not because of the fact that those episodes were boring. They're not really bad choices to make a review out of. It's just that it didn't caught my attention a lot more because PT just feels the less development out of all the Beach City citizens, and when it comes to Naruto, who is his brother, he got the most development, but not the right reasons. With Naruto being the older character than PD, and he's being portrayed like this, it's honestly sad that in comparison to Steven's life, if Naruto was in Steven's position, I'm pretty sure he would have made things a lot more worse. As far as I'm concerned, for how he's portrayed in this episode and in Walk Naruto, it only gave me the impression that he wants anything that he predicts to make himself better than anyone else, even though that's not how it works in real life. As far as I'm concerned, just watching this entire episode from beginning to end, and when PD decides to take Steven and the Crystal Gems out of where Naruto is walking, I'm gonna be honest with you, if PT just sees Naruto more than anyone else, then the only disappointment I have is that we never got an episode centering around the two. As far as I'm concerned, if you literally just scrap the episode Walk Naruto and actually took itself seriously while having PD and Naruto having an episode together, I'm pretty sure it would actually work. Same ways as how Horror Club was developing Naruto's character when it comes to his relationship with Laws. I mean, what Steven did in order to convince Naruto that snake people exist was literally just him just going along with the script, because since that this is part of Season 1, I'm pretty sure that they had the opportunity to make Steven like this, only for him to stand up for himself and Walk Naruto, which is one of the better parts in that episode, only for Naruto to think otherwise. As far as I'm concerned, if we ended up having a development involving PD and Naruto, then I probably would have taken PD's character a lot more seriously and would reconsider on reviewing his episode way earlier in the season. Like I said, it's not a bad choice to review, it's just the fact that PD had the less development out of the characters when it comes to Beach City. As for this episode, aside from the introduction of Steven Tag that they did in the future episode Snow Day, which I did review, there really isn't a lot to talk about in this episode, other than it's one of the worst episodes from this show. And just to get this out of the way, I am not talking about the Season 2 episode of Wignardino, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a lot more worthless than this episode, mainly the fact that the point of view was mainly from him when it came to the events in the final episodes of this show. And let's be real, even if it may be the point into all this, do you really think you want me to do a review of it? Steven may have liked it, but as far as I'm concerned, he pretty much unliked it after seeing how Wignardino treated him in Wignardino, but that's mainly my headcanon. I'm giving this episode a 3.5 out of 10, and when it comes to my next Steven Universe video today, let's just say that Wignardino gets his just desserts from Garnet.